Welcome to episode 26 of Coin Concede, a podcast about Hearthstone. My name is Kenny, and we have a lot to announce today. Not only has there been a lot of news with Hearthstone, but we have a couple brand new co-hosts that are part of our show. So, not to all ado here, all the way from Thunder Bluff, Louisiana, we have Jase, aka Cinder, with us. How have you been, Cinder?
Doing really great, Kenny. Had a great week. A lot of new stuff coming out for Hearthstone. It's very exciting. Very excited to be here.
Great. And all the way from Undercity, Georgia, we have Andres. Andres, how have you been?
Woo! I'm doing pretty good. It's good to be here. It's good to be back in podcasting. It's good to be back recording. And for the first time, live streaming. So, it feels nice.
Yeah, and I do apologize for the noise back here when I try. For those who actually have listened to our show before, my son is now 9 months old. It's around bedtime, so he's kind of a little testy right now. But yeah, first things first. First of all, we appreciate everyone who's been a part of our community in the past for being patient as of this last month, because we've been trying to get everything back and going. Everything kind of got really busy, both for Cora and I. You may notice that Cora hasn't been here. Long story short, Cora is still part of the show, but she's been busy with the winter prelims and championships, and is actually on leave with our show today. Just for school purposes, she's on doing performances and stuff, so she'll be back. Expect her to be here soon. So, also, as a group, we have decided to take this podcast to a slight different direction, a different route than we have in the past. Basically, we really wanted to emphasize different segments and keep them the same, but also add them and have a different insight and be more logical and kind of think about everything in a deeper level. We wanted people to actually listen and get something that they haven't from listening before. So that's our goal here today. So hopefully we have a little bit of insight that if you haven't thought about it, it'll be something new to think about, or yeah, I'm pretty excited. How about you guys? Andres?
I am super excited. Not everyone here knows me, but some people might know me from Hearthaholics. It's a Hearthstone podcast that I used to do last year. It ran for the whole year, and it was a great experience for me. It was the first podcast that I started doing. Unfortunately, because of real life reasons and stuff, we couldn't continue doing it. But I'm very grateful that I can continue doing it with you guys, and I'm super excited to be bringing to the podcast a little bit more of the analytical side, maybe like the strategy side of the game. I think there's a lot to be discussed over there, and I'm very excited for all the changes that are coming for Hearthstone. I think it's a great time to be talking about it in a podcast like this.
Absolutely, we're really happy to have you back. We actually had like a kind of a whole process that we went through with many different applicants, those that were interested. Andres is actually a suggestion from one of our listeners, so we were happy to kind of follow up with that, and he appreciates it. Yeah. So why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself for those who didn't listen to Hearthaholics. And yeah, just give us a little bit of your gaming background. Tell us something we don't know about you.
Sure, why not? I'm an avid gamer. I love all kinds of games, especially competitive games. At least the past few years, I've dedicated myself to playing just multiplayer competitive games. I think they're really fun. Mainly Blizzard games too, just because I think they're one of the best companies around right now. They make really fun games to play, all the way from Hearthstone to Heroes, and now Overwatch is like my new addiction. That game is freaking fantastic. But yeah, and it's been lately for the past year and a half that I've been getting into the whole podcasting stuff. I have a background in audio. I do a lot of recording and a little bit of composing. I'm not like super great at it, but I dabble a lot in it. So it's kind of like a crossroads for me where gaming and the audio stuff kind of like fused. And so far I've been having a blast doing it. Yeah, and we'll see where it takes us.
Great. Yeah, thanks for letting us get to know you a little bit better. As far as our other co-host here, Cinder, tell us a little bit about yourself and your background. Give us a little view into your life.
Well, Kenny, I have been a lifelong gamer. I really started with tabletop. I used to joke that, some teenagers would hide Playboy in their mattresses. I hid the Dungeon Master's Guide. That was the kind of kid I was. I grew up playing tabletop, played a lot of chess. I was in chess club in high school. I teach chess nowadays. But I've growing up as a gamer, video games just exploded, and I made an easy transition from collectible card games to Hearthstone, once Hearthstone came onto the scene, because I was already a card gamer, and I was already a World of Warcraft player, so they dragged me in very, very quickly, and so far so good. I'm loving the game. Obviously, here I am.
Great. Yeah, we're glad to have you as well. You're going to be a big asset to our podcast, I believe, mainly because of what you've thought, what you can bring to the table here. So I'm glad that everyone's going to get a chance to get to know you as well. Anything else you guys want to add here, or shall we go ahead and hop into the news?
I think that covers it. I'm just excited to be here with you guys and looking forward to doing an awesome podcast.
Yeah,
Great.
Let's get to it.
All right, on to the news. All right, so if you haven't been playing Hearthstone, you took a little break, like maybe Andres and I have, playing Overwatch. We have a new expansion coming out soon, TM, which is actually about a month or two away. We'll see. But it's Whispers of the Old Gods. I'm sure it's out there. You can take a look a little bit more into that. It's been out and announced for about a week now, a little over a week, I believe. But it's based off the WoW lore and the Old Gods. Plenty of stuff. I would definitely suggest listening to Disguised Host's little video that he did predicting basically that amount or that expansion. But first things first, most recently we had some patch notes that came out yesterday, was it? I believe it was yesterday.
It was yesterday. It was yesterday, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and so let's just briefly go over those. So one of the things that was added and is implemented now, there's no longer 9 deck slots, there's now 18. So are you guys
I'm so confused. How will I ever play the game again?
Honestly, to be honest with you, I was a little confused when it first came out because I realized that I had a bunch of these decks that I had never built. I was why have a hunter and a druid deck? What is all this? And I realized that all your basic decks got moved into actual slots, and you could delete them at that point and get rid of them. So I was a little confused.
I didn't know they were the basic decks. I thought they were just the pre-made ones that were part of the deck recipes, which I thought we'll cover in a little bit. I thought maybe they're the classic ones. Who knows?
No, they were like the old decks. Remember, like when you first start the game, they give you like very, very basic decks for each class. They were those. They just put them into the slots.
I just directly deleted every single one of them.
yeah, that's the same.
Yep, same thing.
All right, so talking about deck recipes, we actually had released with this patch the recipes. If you haven't checked it out, when you go and make a new deck, it gives you this choice before you can make your custom one. They'll have 3 choices and then custom. The first choice is always the classic set, and then there's a couple individual ones that they pre-selected as far as a recipe, quote unquote. And yeah, definitely check them out. We're not going to go over them; it'd cover too much time, but definitely go check those out. Also, with the new patch.
Sorry. I was just gonna mention one thing super quick about them. I think it's a great decision on their part to include the deck recipes. I think a lot of other card games do it by doing pre-made decks and selling them, and I think this is Hearthstone's way of doing the same thing without necessarily giving away the cards. And just do not go in depth about the deck recipes because there's a lot, and there's a lot of good decks. But they're actually really good. They look like some decks that you would take on the ladder right away. I think it was Sedila, the priest player, who just picked up one of the priest lists and got to 60 legend with it. So they're actually very competitive and very well crafted. I'm very excited that they're there, either for new players or as a seasoned player. If you just don't want to take the time to build a whole deck, just pick one of those and jump into the game.
Yeah, and there's some unusual archetypes in there as well. There's actually a control hunter in there,
Yeah,
which I thought was really cool. I mean, I have no idea if it's terribly successful, but I'm glad that Blizzard and the developers are trying to push these alternative
yeah.
archetypes that maybe people are overlooking because the common wisdom is that these decks aren't that good.
I'm just glad they're viable, you know what I mean? Like when you pick the decks, if you have all the cards that are there, you can actually do pretty decently with them. They're not terrible like the basic decks used to be.
Yeah, and for my own 2 cents, I think that was one of the cool things that they added. I know they have been talking a lot about the new player base and what they want to do to make it easier for them to get into the game, and this will give them, at least with the recipes, an idea of what they should start crafting for if they want to play some of these very viable decks. But yeah, I mean, I wholeheartedly agree. This is a good step that they're taking in the right direction. So,
Cool. Yeah,
yeah.
that's pretty much all I wanted to say about the deck recipes.
No, thanks for bringing it up. Also, just to move on, we do have a new hero, which is Lady Liadrin. I think that's how you
Yeah.
pronounce it.
Yeah, I think so.
Liadrin, I think, is the
Liadrin.
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 Doesn't
Liadrin.
matter.
Okay. I like Liadrin,
So-
to be honest.
Have you guys gotten her yet?
No,
Yes.
I haven't gotten her.
Yes, I was fortunate. I took the time to install the 30 gigs that WoW takes up, and I had an 18.5 level mage out in Red Ridge Mountains. So I, loaded it up for 45 minutes, hit 20, immediately logged out wherever the heck I was, and started playing with Liadrin. And it was really fun too, because Blizz hadn't really put out the word very clearly that she was available. Like the announcement said that she's coming soon, but she was actually live when they put out the patch notes,
Yeah,
or
pretty
very
much
soon
like
after.
right away.
Yeah. So I loaded up the game, and I loaded up my my weird secret pally, my mech secret pally, and started playing with Liadrin. And every single person that I played immediately friended me and asked me, "Oh, how did you get that? What is that? Who is that? How did what?" And very few people even knew that it was an option. So it was really
Nice.
fun to kind of see people's surprise.
You actually got it when it was cool, before it got
Yeah.
old.
I'm the Lady Liadrin hipster.
Nice. I haven't gotten mine. I started. Unfortunately, I didn't have a level 18 or anything close, and I don't have a subscription, so I just started on the free account, which I thought was incredibly cool that they made this cross promotion like that. Like, hey, just come play one of our games. You don't even have to invest some money. Just come play it, have some fun, and then get a cool reward for another game. I thought it was really cool. Really enjoyed the promotion. I'm looking forward to unlocking it. I still have 10 more levels to go because I did have to do the whole grind.
Have you played WoW before though?
Yeah. I used to play WoW a lot on like Wrath of the Lich King. Those used to be like my times of WoW. And then after Cataclysm, I kind of like started weighing off and never like picked it up again.
Did you have any alts though that you could have been closer to 20? Rather than
Yeah,
starting?
but I think that I couldn't jump into them.
Because I mean, that's what Cinder was saying. I did the same thing. I checked all the different realms that I had characters in, and I found one. I had an 18 level warrior, so I just leveled him 2 levels and was done with it. So I got
Yeah, that's good. I had some friends that were doing the promotion as well, so we just jumped all together. It was kind of fun. Just doing a party of like 5 people and going to kill some boars.
yeah. I hear there's a lot of people in the new zones, so
Yeah.
just a tip for those that haven't gotten them. I would say Undercity is probably the quickest, the most well.
Yeah, that's what I did.
mapped out.
instead. Yeah.
Yeah. So check that out if you have to start all over. If you have nothing but 100s, and you have to start a new one, just go ahead and start an Undercity or a undead, whatever it is. All right, so moving on, there were also some card backs that were added. So Hogger was added, Eyes of Cthulhu, and Overwatch. I haven't got the Overwatch one yet, but I probably will. Just gonna wait.
Dude, I've been sporting mine. It feels good. It's a pretty good looking one.
Oh, I don't need any more card backs. They had the Thunder Bluff from last month, and I'm done. That's all I need.
Oh my god, that card back is so cool. Honestly, it is one of my favorites. I can see why you like it so much.
It was
Well,
good.
I mean, it should be obvious why I like it so much.
Yeah, for
aside from
those
you
that
being
aren't
a Thor.
actually live, he's actually wearing a self-made mask, a torn mask. It's actually pretty cool. So if you can go check out our video, definitely check that out.
Yeah, there may be a problem with the Twitch video, but we'll definitely put the VOD up later.
Definitely. All right. So yeah, let's go ahead and move on. Another thing was they added. I don't know if you noticed, but there's a little like button or a little. I guess it's going to act like a toggle where you can click on it and it'll switch you between wild and standard. So something we haven't mentioned yet, but that occurred while we were on leave here was that there's going to be a new wild and standard. Now, I'm not too wild about the wild name. I figured I would have gone for something else, but
I wasn't either about the wild name, but it's kind of growing on me. It kind of has a ring to it. It's just easy to pronounce. It's growing on me.
yeah, true. So that was something else that was added. We'll talk a little bit more about standard and wild in a little bit. So that's pretty much, that wraps up our patch notes that came out yesterday. Today's Tuesday. If you're listening later in the week, let's have Andres actually go over some of the meta reports. You want to go over some of those?
Sure. To be honest with you, there's not much new stuff in the meta reports. Even we see, and the meta snapshot for Tempest Storm is the same for that we've been seeing for the past, what is it now, 3 months, maybe 4 months? Druid obviously being at the top, Secret Paladin being at the top, and then you got Patron Warrior and Zulok right there, just because they're good against Secret Paladin and mid-range Druid, they can compete. Not too much surprise. What do you guys think about this? Are you guys bored with the meta? What do you guys have been playing?
Well, it's kind of like the last hurrah of the current meta.
Yeah.
So I've just been tinkering. Like I decided to dust off old mid-range hunter. I've been having some good success with that. Trying out variations with mechs, before mechs go away. So I mean, I've been having fun. Not try-harding too much, but at least trying.
Yeah, it's the same kind of with me. I've been kind of tired of playing the tier 1 decks because that's kind of what we've been playing for a long time now. I feel like Druid, I know it up and down, and I was trying to finish my Golden Druid earlier this week. I just picked it up and won like 15 games straight in a row, and I felt bad because I was down at ranked like 16. It's already kind of like the middle of the month, so you're not playing against the best players down at rank 18 to 11, which is what I ended up by the end of the session, and it's just such an insanely good deck. You can get out of the thickest situations with that deck and with the combo. Like one example is I was playing as this mid-range hunter, which in effect is pretty good against Druid because it can gain tempo over the Druid, and the minions are big enough to go toe-to-toe against the Druids. And he was beating me down the entire game. Finally gets me down to like 3 health. He has a full board, and I top decked the Savage Roar plus an Innervate that I had in my hand to do like double Savage Roar plus the combo, and just stole the game out of nowhere.
So what you're saying is you're what's wrong with the meta right now?
No. Well, I was playing it for a while. As soon as I got the Golden Druid, I stopped playing it, and I've been playing at least Druid, and I've been trying a little bit of Dragon Warrior just to spice it up a little bit, but I don't know. This is kind of like I'm running on fumes here. I'm ready for standard. I'm ready for Old Gods to come out and have a big change in the meta because it is the same thing that we've been seeing for a while. I know that you were going through the Chinese meta report, and you had a very cool observation about how they're measuring their stats over there that I thought was really interesting.
Right, so one of the idiosyncrasies of NA and EU is that all of the meta reports are more or less based on observation. I mean, they do a lot of observation, but it's ultimately observation. In China, for the Chinese version of Hearthstone, there is an official plugin that users can plug in directly to the game client, as opposed to like a third-party overlay, like something we might use, like Hearthstone Deck Tracker. So it's called Hearthstone Box, I think, and it farms all of the game data and all the game results from everyone who's using it, and the app developers can publish that data, which they do, and someone's using that data to create a meta report. The really great thing about this is that it records so many games from the Chinese meta. I think last week they recorded 10.7 million games played. So it gives, you can't call, too small of a sample size on this, right?
Yeah, 10 million, you're getting a very accurate sample.
Exactly. So now the disadvantage is that it doesn't give you the deck archetype. It only gives you the class. But I think you can make some extrapolations based on just what people are personally reporting, and compare that to other meta reports that are more observational, like the Tempo Storm and the Hearthhead stuff.
I think that's pretty cool. I know that Vicious Syndicate's actually been putting together some stuff with their group and their friends, and anyone that's been a part of that. I've been through Cora, a part of that, as far as sending out all of my TracoBot stuff. So I just linked them my TracoBot link directly, and they can pull all the games that I played on ranked and even unranked, and that's been pretty cool. So it's something similar, I think. If we could, as a community, put everything together, and have something like that, that'd be really cool.
That's pretty cool, and I feel like there's a couple projects that have been going around in the Hearthstone scene, even the NA region, like that, like the deck trackers. They'll hold statistics, and I'm sure that a lot of people use those statistics to bring into the meta reports they're crafting. And it's just cool to see how they have evolved. It's just interesting that in Asia, they're a little more into it. I guess a lot more players are conscious of hey, let's do this because it's beneficial for all of us. Hopefully in the scene over here, we'll have a little more of that gathering power and more people willing to contribute stats, because we know we're not going to get anything from Blizzard, right? They're going to hold that stuff to themselves. And for a fair reason, right? They don't want to give it away because it's too much information about the game. It takes away the fun from it, right? From discovering it. But at least to analyze the whole meta and to get a good grasp of it is really, really hard as just an individual. You really need be able to see a huge sample size to get even a close to accurate picture, unbiased picture.
Yeah. As far as what I've been seeing, if you haven't been following me on Twitter, I've been trying to grind out my golden hunter, actually. So I finally put that up on stream today and got that completed. So now I've been slowly climbing with that, but now I'm feeling like I'm back and I can start actually climbing the ladder with a decent deck.
Yeah,
something I could pilot much better. So I'm pretty excited about that. Yeah, the meta seems pretty stale, and I actually geek out on some of the people that I play against that have something different or creative. Like I know Cinder actually sent me a deck to play with my hunter that was more of a mid-range. So I decided to play that instead of the snakes and drakes I have been playing, which is a little bit more combo-based. It's not as consistent. But yeah, I mean, that was fun, something to do that was different and pilot. So
yeah, right now it's a good time to get creative and just try a little something new. Don't play a tier 1 deck. They're so iron out and old. It's just, I don't know. It's time for something new.
Exactly. So talking about the old meta here, Cinder, I know that you actually went into depth as far as the Winter Championships. You want to kind of give us a breakdown and go into detail about what happened?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So the Winter Championships, understandably, it was 3 days for the top bracket, and something about 6 hours of games per day. So not everybody could catch that. I, however, am a total addict, so I caught every match.
Thank God for that.
People, yeah, right. So some people wake up and watch football all day. I wake up and watch Hearthstone tournaments. So at the end of the day, final result is Amnesiac, the 15-year-old prodigy from Team Archon, won the trophy. The runner-up was Nostum, who's unaffiliated. I think he's just a streamer, like a mid-level
I believe
streamer.
so, yeah. Just
Yeah,
a ladder
and then,
player.
third and fourth place went to Chess Dude and All Sky High. Now, to talk about Amnesiac and Nostum, obviously congrats to them both. They both played nearly perfectly, very technical, very by the numbers, very textbook, and they deserved it. But I wanted to highlight Chess Dude and All Sky High specifically. All Sky High, I found he played at times very aggressively. Like he was willing to, if he didn't exactly see a winning line, or if it was close, if he was on the edge of defeat, he would go all in, put all of his cards on the table, metaphorically and literally, and he would just go for it. And sometimes that turned into a win. And I think that's something that some players are unwilling to do or are hesitant to do. I think we saw that with Snail. Snail was one of the other competitors. He played more conservatively, especially as the tournament went on. He became more hesitant. He started to play not to lose, which that ended up just sabotaging his games entirely, and he ended up washing out, which is unfortunate. But yeah, All Sky High just had this willingness to be super risky, and at times it worked out for him, and he got third and fourth place. So I think that was great. Now the other one, and this is the player that I think is going to be someone to watch in the near future, is Chess Dude. Chess Dude is another prodigy. He's actually 17 years old, and as his name suggests, he is a chess player. In fact, he's a chess master. He was a certified chess master at the age of 12. And I'm a chess player. I went and looked up his rankings, and he is the real deal. He's one of the top 20 under 18 chess players in the U.S. And his ELO ranking is 2317, which is
wow. That's
phenomenal.
really high for chess. Yeah.
Yeah, that is
Nice.
To get to Grandmaster level, you have to have a certified 2500 rating. So he's not far from the mark. But the great thing about Chess Dude's play, what he did was he would very carefully not analyze just his hand and what his opponent was doing on the board and what he predicted his opponent had in hand, but he would extrapolate that information out one or two turns ahead. And at the time, he would make a play, and you might think, what in the world is he doing? And then 2 turns later, you realize he has exactly lethal based on what he had in hand and what he expected to draw in 2 turns. And the casters were really blown away by this. I was blown away by it. And I can guarantee you that's a skill he picked up from chess, being able to see turns into the future.
I agree with that. I've been following Chess Dude for a little bit too. I've seen him playing a couple of tournaments before, but this one was really like his highlight tournament so far, especially because he was being filmed by Blizzard and broadcasted and stuff. And he did a phenomenal performance. I thought that during his games, he was very calm and very analytical of all of them. And I guess you can see that from the experience he's had playing tournaments in chess, to not let the nervous get to him. And I could even see like a little life coach in him, just very, very calm, taking his time, doing his turns very slowly, and thinking way ahead, like you said.
Yeah, I am certain that we have not seen the last of Chess Dude. I hope that Chess Dad his dad was with him at the tournament. I hope that Chess Dad allows him.
He lets
to
him
play
come
more
to other
tournaments.
tournaments. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he's 17, so they have to have I assume they would have to have a parent.
Legal guardian.
With him. Yeah. Yeah. But nice guy. Drove him out, flew him out to the tournament. So that was great. So another interesting thing about Chess Dude and Amnesiac were the only 2 players to take Rogue. And they both took Oil Rogue, and they were both very successful with it. The 2 of them combined had a 64% win rate in the tournament with Oil Rogue, which is phenomenal. And they flashed a stat for Chess Dude specifically. On ladder, Chess Dude has a 67% win rate, which is unbelievable. I mean, for players who are listening,
with Oil Rogue?
55%. Sorry, say again?
With Oil Rogue?
Yeah,
in general.
With the Rogue class, but let's assume that it's Oil Rogue for the most part.
Oh, okay.
I see.
He 55% is good, 60% is very good, 67% is unbelievable. So this
Yeah,
guy is
67% is like world champion level because I think it was Kaka. That's what he was win percentage was around at the time when he won.
Which is funny because he had an oil rogue too.
Yeah,
yeah.
I was gonna say that like the top two contenders in the world championship both brought oil rogue as well, and the meta honestly is not that different from what we saw in the world championship. So I don't know, oil rogue seems like a very very good tournament deck, at least in the context right now.
Well, there were some differences in the tournament picks, which I found were interesting. Warlock was also very successful, 63%. Now, Warlock was almost every different deck type. They had Zoo, they had Reno, they even
Even a handlock, right?
I think Talion was playing Handlock, a
Yeah.
Demon Handlock. And 63% win rate for Warlock, so that did very well. And now Warrior, almost every player who played Warrior took Control Warrior, some variation of Control Warrior. The only person who played Patron, I think, was Snail. He wasn't that successful with it. But overall, Warrior had 61% win rate. So, that's an unusual pick for the current meta, but for the tournament meta, I think it's a little bit different. I think some people made some correct picks there.
It feels like Control Warrior is an amazing tournament deck as well, just because of the looming threat of Freeze Mage. But on the ladder is such a tricky deck to play because I feel like you have to play that deck impeccably right now on the ladder to be able to go past rank 5 because of all the secret paladins and Zulog that you're finding like everywhere, and Druid. Really, like, you need to be a phenomenal warrior player to pull that deck and ladder right now. But in tournaments where you can aim that deck at very specific things, I think it's doing really good.
Well,
I think.
Go ahead, Kenny.
Sorry, I was just going to add, kind of piggyback on that a little bit. Something to point out too is those that are really good at laddering, we've found are part of this tournament now. With how everything is working out to be getting to BlizzCon, ladder points are actually a big part. So we're finding a lot more people that are better at laddering, which would be like Amnesiac, who actually ended up winning, which is really cool to see. In the tournament setting, and how they can adapt to the tournament setting, just like I'm blanking on his name now. But yeah, I think along the lines of what I'm getting at. I think it's pretty cool to see.
I totally agree with that. It's also really cool that it's separated now into seasons, and like all these ladder players are getting like a huge incentive to actually do good, because it's not that far away, right? We're not talking about a year or at least 6 months away, but we're talking about 2 to 3 months out. Is like, okay, I can be a part of this big tournament if I do good on the ladder. So for a person that's already good and reaching top 100, it's a huge incentive to continue playing the game. And I don't know, it's a goal that is much more within reach, I feel. So I think they've done a really good job setting up their tournament scene this year.
Yeah, and and not just ladder, also the Tavern Hero. The
Tavern Hero is awesome.
Yeah, so one of the competitors, Snail, is from South America. He qualified through his local Tavern Hero tournament.
Yeah.
It was just it was a couple hours away from his home. He drove up, won the tournament, ended up qualifying for the Winter Championship. So
there was actually there was actually a Tavern Hero right down the street from my home as well. I couldn't participate because I was working at the time, but I thought that was awesome too. Like, I could have gone there and I had a chance to qualify if I had just tried out. I mean, not that I'm saying I could have won it, but I just think that it's cool that it's much more within reach, at least this year it feels like.
Definitely. Now, as we were talking about Druid a minute ago, fun stat about Druid in the tournament, it was the most played class. Every single player took Druid, and all but one player had mid-range combo. WTY Bill had a very strange, like, old-school ramp Druid, didn't do that well with it. But it was played in 46% of the matches. It only had a win rate of 38%. It was the worst performing deck, right above Paladin, which was at 36%.
That's surprising.
Despite these, so despite these being very popular ladder decks, in tournament settings, they're maybe not as good.
So it's interesting how this thing kind of works sometimes because Druid I feel is one of the most well-rounded and solid decks that there is right now. On ladder it's great because since you don't know what you're facing, Druid does generally well against everything and the combo just steals games away. But on the context of this tournament where everyone knows that Druid is the top contender, is the top dog, right? Everyone comes to this tournament knowing that Druid is going to be there and that a lot of people are going to bring it. Everyone techs out against that or builds their lineup knowing they're going to face Druid. So this sort of decks, the top dog deck, usually you run a risk bringing it because it is the best deck, so it has a good win percentage, but everyone will be taking against you, especially at this level of tournament. So I don't think it's that surprising that Druid didn't have that good of a win rate. Plus, if everyone's bringing it, there's a lot of mirror matches too, which adds to that, you know?
Exactly. It tends to level out the overall win rate.
Yeah.
Now, the one thing that Druid and Warlock and Oil Rogue, most of these well-performing decks have in common is bursts. You know, the Oil Rogue can oil up and hit and flurry. Druid obviously has the Savage Roar combo. Warlock has a number of ways to produce a lot of burst from hand. Those are the decks that tend to perform well, especially when they're backed up by card draw. And I think as the tournament scene progresses, and especially as we move into Standard, when there's going to be some big changes, look for the decks that have burst potential. I think those are going to be the ones that the strong players once again gravitate towards. Even Freeze Mage, it's essentially a burst deck. You know, you wait, freeze the board for a few turns, hit the ice block, Alex, and then boom. All kinds of burst damage come out of hand.
It's a good high skill cap kind of strategy to play decks like that. Basically, just because of the people that can think 2 or 3 turns ahead, they can incorporate these type of turns before they happen, and I think that's what they kind of bring on their side, and how they can be successful with them and themselves. So I think that's something that's a little bit harder for the average player to work on and get better at, but we're talking about top end players here. So yeah, a great review of how the Winter Championships was. Anything else you want to add, Cinder? Anything else?
Well, the only other thing I really want to note, Amnesiac did win the championship match against Nostum. However, in the group stage, Nostum swept Amnesiac. So if you add up all of their matches together, Nostum actually won 4 games to Amnesiac's 3. So there's an argument to be made that Nostum was actually the stronger player over the weekend, and I was definitely impressed with his play. So I'm hoping to see him return to the tournament scene as well, because out of the first couple of days when I said who are the 2 players to watch to myself, I said Chess Dude and Nostum. These were the 2 that I wanted to keep my eyes on. Amnesiac's kind of a known factor. Everyone's been expecting him to come up and do great things, and he's definitely delivered on that front. Nostum, not a known factor yet, so this being his first really strong tournament performance, really excited to see him return to another tournament bracket really soon.
Yeah, not to discount Amnesiac though. I think that little kid has been doing an amazing job. It's quite amazing what he's doing at 14 years old, and the way he plays is very, very good. His Druid is scary. The way he plays that Druid is so good, because honestly, most people think Druid is an easy deck to play, right? You just innervate the big guys, and then you combo out. But there's a lot of nuances to that deck, especially in different matchups, especially in the matchups that you're weak against. And that guy pulls off some wins out of his, I don't know. But he's a great player.
Yeah, and if anybody wants to look into those nuances of Druid, Colento published a YouTube video where he's instructing his girlfriend on how to play Combo Druid. It's a really cool video to watch because he breaks down all those tiny decisions that you need to make from turn to turn for Druid that a lot of people may overlook. You know, just about how to specifically manage your mana, how to specifically plan, for 1 or 2 or 3 turns ahead. Really great breakdown if anybody's interested in learning the ins and outs of Druid.
Cool.
Great. shall we? I know we have some time here to kind of go over the cards that have been released a little bit. You want to go over that a little bit?
Yeah, that
Yeah,
sounds
sure.
good. Let's go over some of the new cards because it gives a little taster of what's to come and what we can expect with the new standard format.
Great. All right, so let's go ahead and start here. I'll go over each card and say what they are. I'll read it, and then we'll get our first impressions, basically, on what we think this would... we're not going to be able to tell what kind of decks they're going to be in. Again, this is going to be something that Standard is going to determine. And the first thing I want to point out that I don't hear that much of. So everyone is actually very... upset with how long this stale meta has been, to put it mildly. What I'm really looking forward to with Standard is how everything's going to not change for the cards that they're introducing, but for the cards that are no longer going to be available. Like that alone is going to be a huge change, and I don't think everyone's grasped the effect that it is going to have. And we don't know, even more so because they're taking cards away, but they're also adding cards. We have no clue what's set up, what they have planned. Originally, I was thinking with this Cthulhu card and how they're having supporting cards with it, they're going to have one for each different kind of WoW god. That may not be the case. So we don't know what direction they're taking, but I'm very excited with the direction we're going. I'm pretty excited. First impressions. You guys want to talk about the cards here before we go in depth?
Yeah, sure. Let's go over let's go over a few of the cards, and then we can talk about how we think they're gonna fit or the thing that they're bringing into.
Okay. First one here is 2 mana, 2/3. It's Beckoner of Evil. Battle Cry. Give your Cthulhu +2/+2 wherever it is, whether it's in your deck, in your hand. I assume no longer when it's on the board. I guess it would include that because it's where it is.
Right. It's
Wherever
going to
it
be,
is.
Yeah, so that means board, hand, or deck. Any of those three, as long as your Cthulhu exists in your deck list, it will be buffed. So if you played this, early on, and then Cthulhu comes into your hand 10 turns later, that buff will appear on Cthulhu. So he will come into your hand and then into play with the buff intact.
Can I take a step back here? Let me go over the Cthulhu card first because a lot of these are affecting Cthulhu card directly. So Cthulhu is a 10 mana 6/6, and it has a battle cry, right? Deal damage equal to this minion. Attack randomly split. The minion's attack is randomly split among all enemies. So if he's already on the board, the Beckoner of Evil will affect its attack and health, but it won't affect the battle cry when he's initially sent out there.
Right.
So just something to point out there. Cinder, since you're already here, what do you think about these cards?
So they've said that there's going to be 16 different cards that interact with Cthulhu in some way. I don't think those are all going to be buffs. There might even be some very specific tech against cards for Cthulhu, but I think overall they're gonna be part of a Cthulhu deck that you build, and it's probably going to be true for all of the old gods because each old god is going to have a legendary. Cthulhu specifically. 10 mana 6/6 underwhelming, but as we go through the cards, you'll see all of these cards buff Cthulhu. So he might hit the board as a 12/12, a 14/14. Ben Brode even commented that during playtesting it was not uncommon to see a 20/20 Cthulhu hit the board. And then that battle cry hits, and that's 20 random damage across the board, or whatever the attack happens to be. So think of a knife juggler and a 12 or 14 card Unleash the Hounds. That's kind of what it's like, you know?
I think of it as like an Avenging Wrath.
Steroids.
Yeah, there you go. Well, I'm a Hunter player. I can't help it.
I'm going to jump in here real quick and think that, actually mention, I think Cthulhu as a card is way overpowered, even as is. I mean, if you think about it doing random damage, but also having a 6/6 on board, I feel like that's one of the most powerful as-is cards. Not only are you dealing with their board when you drop it onto your board, or when you actually play it, but you actually have something afterwards too. It's almost like, I feel like, depending on how big the attack is, but I feel like it's a big game hunter, basically, where you're getting rid of a big threat, but you're also throwing something on the board that's threatening too. So I think it's really interesting to see how these cards are going to affect it, and I expect also that there are going to be cards that are affected in negative ways. So you may have counter plays against Cthulhu as well. But very interesting. I don't think they're going to have interactions with all the gods. I think they will have them as just legendary. I haven't confirmed it, but I hear that's how it is. So keep your ears posted, I guess. What do you think, Andres?
I'm super excited about Cthulhu. I think this is an awesome idea for a deck. I think that you're right in the sense that this is a very, very powerful card, but I think that they've made it this powerful because once you have your Cthulhu deck, he's going to be kind of like your main win condition, right? Like when you play Cthulhu, you better win the game. And if you don't win the game after that, you might be in trouble with this sort of deck, because if your Cthulhu is gone, I mean, a lot of the cards that are going to be left in your deck are going to be kind of useless, right? Just like blank minions with stats at that point. And they have okay stats, like the Beckoner of Evil is a 2/3 for 2, so, you know, pretty standard. And then you have other guys like Twilight Elder, a 3 mana, 3/4. At the end of your turn, give your Cthulhu +1/+1, so another buff card. So the stats are fine. And I think that the cool thing about this deck is not going to be how powerful Cthulhu is or how overpowered it is. I think the trick of it is going to be, when do you play Cthulhu, right? So as the Cthulhu player, you're going to have to make a judgment call of, okay, I need to draw Cthulhu in a reasonable time frame. I need to be playing these cards in an order that is not going to set me behind too much in tempo, because most of these cards don't have a death rattle or a battle cry that affects the board immediately, but rather a battle cry that is like a long-term battle cry, right? And we've seen cards that do that with things like Burgle or I can't think of one this turn, but cards that, or the Mist Color, that's another card that does that. Cards that affect your deck at a long term can be really tricky, because if your opponent is playing cards that affect the board immediately, he's gonna gain tempo, and over time he's gonna be much further ahead of you. So Cthulhu is gonna be that card that's gonna bring you back, hopefully on tempo, and hopefully kill your opponent, right? Like, you want to play this card, wipe their board, and kill the other person, ideally. But most of the time, that might not be possible because it might be threatened. So you might have to make a judgment call of, hey, let's play the Cthulhu a little earlier, wipe the board, but then I risk it being big game hunter. Am I going to have enough damage to close out the game after that? So I don't know. I think it's going to be a really interesting deck, and I can't wait to play with it.
Yeah,
If I'm going to just... Go ahead.
I'm looking forward to the Cthulhu Rogue, where you drop Cthulhu and then
return to your hand.
Or return to your hand too.
Yeah.
Both of those things. Yeah. I mean, I think it's going to be a heavy control deck, right? Kind of like Control Warrior, where you're trying to keep the board clean, play your buffs, and then try to get the Cthulhu out.
I thought about that too. I thought it was going to be a control deck until this card came out today, the new Claxi Amber Weaver, 4 mana druid card that is a 4/5 and says Battle Cry. If your Cthulhu has at least 10 attack, gain +5 health. And it's it will be a 4 mana 4/10 if you can play him like that. You would have to play, it's possible, right? It's possible to have your Cthulhu add 10 attack by turn 4, because if you play 2 Beckoners, what's the name? Beckoner of Evil, there you go, you got it. So I don't know, maybe there could be like a mid-range kind of Cthulhu deck. I don't know, maybe they're trying, like, maybe each class is gonna be able to build their variant of a Cthulhu deck.
Yeah,
true. Yeah, the other thing I would mention too is I think with me, I would want to have it just by itself, because if you're going to be able to tell if it's a Cthulhu deck because of all these other cards that are going to buff it.
Yeah, immediately you will know what a Cthulhu deck is. As soon as they play a Beckoner of Evil or anything like that, you know.
Then you can actually play your counters or whatever. But I think it brings another level of play where you're going to have to keep track of these once, if it's in your actual hand, or in your deck, I mean, not in your hand, you'll see it affect the card, and then if there are counter plays, you'll have to kind of minus them, if there are those. We can only assume, but different kind of level of play. I think it'll be interesting to see what kind of classes will play it too. Maybe Druid because of Innervate, or who knows? We can only suspect. But I generally, as a whole expansion, I love the theme of it, and especially with some of these other cards, because it's a play off of cards that we already know. I'll just go over two general ones here to just back up my point. So there's a 5-mana 6/6 Corrupted Healbot, Death Rattle, restore 8 health to the enemy hero. So it's kind of a mix. Well, it's a mech. So it's like a Healbot, but complete opposite. So it's not a battle cry. It's a Death Rattle. It's not a heal to yourself. It's a restore 8 health to your opponent. It's almost like a zombie chow, you know. So it's I like the corrupted Healbot is actually the exact opposite. There's also the 4-mana 4/2, which is a polluted hoarder. It's a Death Rattle, draw a card. Same as the loot hoarder, but it's polluted. I don't care for this card too much, but just something to kind of grasp and
I was thinking about this card a little bit because it looks really, really crappy right now, and I think it looks crappy just because we have been spoiled. And we have been spoiled in the sense that we have cards right now like Piloted Shredder or Zombie Chow, which are amazing cards, Sludge Belcher. And then when you look at this guy, you think to yourself, well, this guy is a 4/2, he dies to anything. But once Standard comes out, the cards that are going to be competing against this guy don't have those ridiculous death rattles or that the way to stay on the board as aggressively as it is right now, right? Like Healbot can do. You won't have Healbot anymore. I mean, not Healbot, but Minibot, the Paladin Minibot. So a card like this, let's say, if this card gets Frostbolted, or you trade another minion to it, the 4 attack actually trades up pretty favorably, and you draw a card, you're getting card advantage over your opponent, and your opponent is not getting a creature on the board anymore. So I don't know.
It's something to kind of just think about. Yeah, again, like it looks bad to us now, and what we mentioned before is everything changes. Not only are they taking cards away, but they're introducing a ton of cards as well.
Exactly.
So what we know as of now will not exist, and this, I think that'll be nice to kind of start the creative juices. I think the people that are going to do best at the beginning of this release is going to be people that already are setting up those creative decks, like Chanman and so forth. But yeah, so let's go over some of the other cards here real quick. Another card that's similar is the Validated Doomsayer. So it's a 5-mana 0/7. At the start of your turn, set this minion's attack to 7. I just real quick here want to say this seems more like a control type. Yeah. I don't see it initially affecting anything.
It's a big game hunter dodge, right? It's a big creature that dodges big game hunter for a turn. That's what I see when I look at this card.
But if you think about it too, like you throw it down, if it's 5 mana, you throw it down, whatever board they have, they can deal with it. There's nothing that's going to affect their board, and you're just set back another turn.
Yeah,
so,
it's definitely a card that you have to play consciously on the right board, right? You can't just play this into an empty board because it would be terrible. But if it survives a turn, then you get a 7/7, or maybe a 7/4, 7/3.
Well, again, we'll have to see. We'll see.
It as you noted, it dodges big game hunter, which I think is a big deal. But it kind of suffers a little bit of like the Wolfram Shield problem, where the attack's not high enough, so people can safely trade into it, and when it's not even a trade, they can just freely kill it. But at the same time, I mean that's 7 attack that didn't go to your face. So it's
although for a priest, it might be an interesting card, right? When you can heal your cards, you can buff him, and it dodges big game hunter for a turn. The only thing that this card scares me a little bit about is that Big Game Hunter will remain being the same card that we know right now.
That's true.
Well, I think they're going to affect all those cards. I mean, they're going to affect as few as what they said, 5 to 20 cards that are something like Big Game Hunter, they may affect Loot Hoarder. Who knows? That'll be interesting to see the changes for that as well.
Mm-hmm.
We also have the Paladin card, which is a 5-mana spell. It's a stand against darkness. Summon 5 1/1 silver hand recruits.
So it's interesting because Muster is leaving and this card is coming in. So this is the replacement for Muster, but this is them saying, hey, Muster is a great card and Paladins can definitely use this tool, but maybe it's coming out too early and maybe the sword that it gives you is a little too much, right? Like being able to play 3 dudes on turn 3 plus being able to attack for 1 with charge with the weapon that you get is really, really strong. It gives you a little bit too much tempo. So maybe this is them being like, okay, let's try the same tool but in a different context. It comes out in turn 5, which is a turn that AoE is already a very looming threat. Is late enough so that a lot of control decks are going to be able to have a response to this.
Yeah,
they dial it back a bit.
Right, this is the kind of card that you can hold and wait for the priest to drop the Holy Nova, and then once it's expended, then this hits the board, and now they have a problem because they may not have a sufficient board to trade into 5 1/1s. Now, I mean, 5 1/1s is a little underwhelming for 5 mana, but we don't know what all the rest of the set is going to look like. So there could be a new Quartermaster or
I was about to say that,
no,
like, they're losing Quartermaster too, so I'm interested to see if another card would come out, because this card would be perfect with Quartermaster. I guess you can do it in Wild. You can play Monster for Battle and this card, and you can still do like Stand Against Darkness and Quartermaster turn 10, and then you have 5 3/3s and a 2/5. That's pretty good.
Yeah. Now, and the other thing too, it's like, keep in mind that when they design a set, not every single card is going to be for Standard. Some of these may actually be thought of with Arena in mind. Like, this would be a fantastic card in Arena. It would, it may be more Wild focused. They're not going to design every card with Standard balance in mind, so it may be underwhelming for Standard, but other formats might still be good.
That is a really cool thing to think about too, that all these cards are also playable in Wild, so you have all this like parallel meta going on. This is gonna be super awesome in my opinion.
Cool. I think we'll move on there from there. Let's go over the just for nostalgic reasons for myself, the 8-mana 8/8 giant sandworm. I remember playing against these in WoW. So it says, if this minion attacks another minion and kills it, it can attack again, and it's a beast hunter card.
I want to say just
one
brief thing. I love this card. I love this card.
It's a new concept that I really like. It's like a different type of. It's a not a Wind Fury, but it's like a. It is Wind Fury, but it's part of the card.
I think one of the biggest problems that sometimes you have when you play one of these big guys, especially if you're playing against a deck like Zoo, is that you played a huge guy, but you're behind the board against all these little mini guys, and your one guy, even though it's a big threat, can sometimes just be ignored because the little dudes are enough of a threat that your opponent can race you. And this guy is great because you get the whole benefit of a big guy, a huge threat, but then it's a huge threat that can deal against small boards. If you have 2 or 3 dudes that you can kill, you can just bam, 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 one-shot it with this guy, donezo. If you really need to. And if not, you can just ignore him and keep going face.
Right, like Hunter has no access to AoE. Like, you have Kill Command, or not Kill Command, Unleash the Hounds, but that's not true AoE removal. Giant Sandworm, assuming it survives from turn 8, that is a tall order. It's a pretty slow turn to be playing a big guy with no immediate effect on the board. But if he survives, if you're playing against a Zoo that has a bunch of tokens on the board, man, this guy might be able to clean up most or all of the board and then hit face for 8, before he gets traded off the board.
Yeah.
So he's got potential.
And not counting that this guy can also come out of things like Ram Wrangler and stuff. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no problem.
I see this. Well, actually, Cinder, you see this more of a control hunter card?
It could be. I mean, I still haven't yet seen a truly viable control hunter, in my opinion. I think there are some that are fun, that if you learn it well enough, you can find some success, but it's not surpassing, mid-range or hybrid.
Yeah. It still
But
remains to see if this card is actually gonna be good or playable, but I just like the idea of this big minion. A big minion that is effectively doing what you want a big minion to do, but it also bypasses one of the biggest weaknesses of just putting all your eggs in one basket with one big minion, right?
right.
Cool. Let's go ahead and move on. We have the other one that was recently released as well as the 4-mana 2/4 Eater of Secrets. Battle Cry, destroy enemy secrets. Gain 1/1, or +1/+1 for each. So,
So
Andres.
Secret Paladin counter.
Yeah,
It's finally
Secret
coming.
Paladin is on notice.
But honestly, I don't even know if Secret Paladin is gonna be a thing after this expansion. Like the power of Secret Paladin was that it could build a board that was so hard to deal with that by the time you played Mysterious Challenger, you were guaranteed to have a Paladin Shredder or a Mini Botter or a bunch of other guys in there, making your tempo almost uncatchable, right? Like your opponent, even though if they had the right answers, might not be able to catch up in tempo. But now all those cards are gone, so can Secret Paladin build a strong enough board that Mysterious Challenger can be effective? Do we really need this guy now? At least the tool is here, so in case Secret Paladin keeps being annoying, you can just put a Secret Eater or Eater of Secrets and deal with that.
Well, even though Secret Paladin may or may not survive, Freeze Mage will. Freeze Mage is losing very little in the standard rotation, so there's gonna still be a need for a way to deal with Ice Block. Eater of Secrets as a
True.
4, it does not pass the vanilla test. He's a 2/4 for 4. It's kind of bad, but if he eats even one secret, he's already gained a lot of value. Now he's a 3/5 for 4, and he's removed 1 to 3 mana from the opponent's board. So he's actually, there may be room for him in the meta depending on the speed of the meta. If there is room to play stuff like this, or even as an example from the most recent Winter Championships, Kezan Mystic was teched into a number of decks specifically to deal with Ice Block. So I think maybe even in small condensed metas, an Eater of Secrets may or may not find a place to shine.
This is definitely a replacement for Kizan Mystic. It's actually a better replacement for Kizan Mystic. Kizan Mystic was good, but sometimes was not good enough. Like against Secret Paladin, it was definitely not good enough. Spending 4 mana for a subpar creature that only stole one of the 5 secrets that they played was literally just a tempo loss for you. But this guy is the complete opposite. You swallow all their secrets and you put a huge threat on the board. So this is actually an effective answer against secrets. What remains to see is if people are playing enough secrets to make it viable for a ladder deck. Maybe a tournament deck that targets them, but for ladder it's always tricky because if you just end up playing against a streak of decks that don't have any secrets and you just have a 4 mana 2/4 that doesn't do anything else, it's kind of bad.
Yeah, it's. I see it as more of like a ladder thing. You're going to run into a lot of different secrets on ladder, I think, more than in tournaments. Although I see it as a tech card, something you would
definitely a tech card
use for
sure.
So fun. All right, cool. Any other cards you wanted to go over?
There's only one more, Hogger, the Doom of Elwyn, 7 mana 6/6. Whenever this minion takes damage, summon a 2/2 null with Taunt. This could be like a Cthulhu kind of counter. If you're expecting Cthulhu to come down, play this guy, and you start creating a bunch of different targets for his thing.
Man, I didn't even think about that. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, you could fill up your board with a bunch of nulls, because technically, if he gets hit 5 times, you fill up your board, right? Or 6 times, you have a full board. And then each of the nulls takes up 2 damage. So this guy could technically soak up an entire Cthulhu.
And I love Hogger just like as the character Hogger. He's one of my favorites from World of Warcraft 4. I am dying to get that Hogger plushie that you get with the tavern
Oh yeah, I've seen it. It's
thing.
pretty
Yeah.
cool.
The Fireside Gatherings. I've been trying to think of the name of that all night. So yeah, like I love that they're introducing a new version of Hogger, even if he has weird squiddy tentacles on his back.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I saw this card and I thought new variation on the what I like to call the masochistic warrior builds, like the Grand Patrons and the Raging Warg and stuff.
No,
He's
absolutely.
gonna fit right in there.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too. Like, this is kind of like in the style of Patron, right? It's kind of like that type of minion where you better kill it in one shot, or you're gonna have a bunch of like little guys getting out of control. Even for guys like Priest, this guy might be interesting because it creates a 2/2 with taunt, which automatically puts him behind the wall and can make it tricky for your opponent to just outright kill him straight up, right? If your opponent doesn't kill him in one shot, then now he has to deal with a taunt. If he has to hit him twice, then he has to deal with 2 taunts. So I don't know. I kind of like this card.
Yeah, it's another thing to also maybe slow down a Cthulhu too. Like say it's a play before turn 10, and they want to throw down Cthulhu, then they may hesitate in playing him. And may try and do some other damage to him, and then that gives you another chance to kind of, if you have a board, deal with what you need to do or put in the last bit of damage before they throw Cthulhu down.
Against aggro, this can also be a really good card. Again, another minion that another big minion that can deal with small minions in an interesting way.
Yeah. Oh, it'll be interesting. All right.
Cool, yeah.
That pretty much wraps everything up.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, so let me just go ahead and go right into our email section. So really, there is no email section. Please start sending us an email since we started up again, so we can start referring to our community, actually. We would love to hear from you, whether it's just something like a comment you'd like to tell us. We'd love to hear from you. If it's something you want us to bring on the show, write it in, and we'll go ahead and address it. So you go ahead and send it to coinconcede@gmail.com, and we'll pull them and add them to the show.
Yeah.
We're more than happy to.
If you guys get a chance to listen to this episode, please let us know what you think. It's nice to be back into podcasting, and it's nice to be podcasting with you guys. Any feedback is appreciated. What would you guys like to hear? What do you guys like to hear us discuss? Do you want Jase to keep the Tauren mask, that sort of thing?
The Tauren mask is non-negotiable. It stays on.
Well,
it's black right now, so...
Yeah, nobody can see it anyway.
The VOD will be up, and the audio will be up.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to give I will do that in a little bit. Let's go over our outro stuff. So a couple things I want to mention. First thing, a heartfelt thank you goes out to Erica for being our first Patreon sponsor, actually. I already mentioned this on our short little clip before we went on our break, but we do appreciate you supporting us. It is awesome. I'm glad to have a supporter. We'll get some more information to you, so keep an eye out for the specific changes we'll be making to our Patreon page. We'll be slowly getting that out. It's not a priority. What we're trying to do is the entertainment part first here, and we'll slowly start implementing these changes to include each of us getting our hands on this as a whole. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm really excited, actually. So a couple things about our Patreon. Go ahead and check it out. It's patreon.com/coinconcede. Andres, do you want to go over some of our iTunes? We had a couple that were actually given to us while we were on leave, and actually both of them were from Germany. I mentioned one of them on the short show, but let's go ahead and mention him again. So, yeah, go ahead and tell us our iTunes reviews.
We got Pashut. He says, love it, one of my favorite podcasts. Thanks, Pashut. That's pretty nice of you. And we also have Timcat1234, very, very creative. Go, my favorite podcast. Keep up the good work. I love your show. Greetings, Timmy. That's nice, Timmy. Thanks a lot, man.
And I do want to add in there, if you have if you listen to us through Stitcher, leave podcast reviews on that as well. Any type of review to help people get to us or find us is very much appreciated. If that's the number one thing that helps us out, be recognized as a podcast amongst our peers. All right, so Cinder, do you want to go ahead and go over our thanks for some of our show info?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks to Stefan L. for letting us use his cover. You can check out his channel, his YouTube channel on YouTube. It'll be in the show notes because it's a very long and not really intelligible link. We want to thank Zoe Zazu.
No, you're expected to read every single letter in that link.
Yeah, no, okay. Capital U, capital C. No, we're not doing that. Thanks to Zoe Zazu for creating the logo. You can find and follow her on Twitter at Zoe Zazu. You can catch our blog posts at coinconcede.com along with the show notes, and I believe we're expecting to put up audio and VOD maybe Thursday. Is that right, Kenny?
It should be Wednesday night. It depends.
Okay. Well,
depends when we get everything edited.
Yeah, most people are going to hear this when they download it anyway. So, follow us on Twitter at Coin Concede. Like and share the Facebook page, facebook.com/Coin Concede.
All right, so right now is when we usually go give our shout-outs. First thing, I want to go ahead and give a shout-out to those of us, those that joined us on our Twitch channel here. We have Half Broke, we have
channel.
Yes, Panda Face. Well, there's us, and there's Big Crazy Gamer, which I think is actually Eric himself. So our number one Patreon supporter is with us.
Woo!
We also have No Sense Worrying.
Nice.
Nose worry.
Noseworthy. You heard it here.
So thank you for stopping by on our Twitch. We do appreciate those joining us live. We're going to go ahead and keep doing this. We'll actually get all the little kinks worked out here. Maybe we'll try and do something.
Hopefully next time our stream will actually have video, not just be a black screen. But we're working on stuff, guys. We're working on stuff.
Slowly but surely. All right. Any other shout-outs you guys want to give, Cinder?
Just a shout out to the Louisiana Hearthstone people. Thanks so much for being an amazing community. I hope you guys are listening, and hit me up in the Discord. Tell me what you think.
Cool, Andres.
People can find me on Twitter at iPlayGames. You spell that IPLAI Games. And I'm working on renovating a lot of my audio website and stuff. Hopefully that stuff will be up soon for everyone to check out. And yeah, find me on Twitter.
Oh, hey, maybe I should plug my my Twitch thing. That would be good too. So I'm on Twitter at Cinder Ascendant. I have to differentiate myself from the other Cinders. But more importantly, find me on Twitch, twitch.tv/Cinder Ascendant. My usual show, or my channel is dedicated to my usual show, Heavy Metal Hearthstone. I have a very carefully curated list of hard rock and heavy metal from around the world, and I play it for everyone.
Very tasteful.
Yeah, I play it for everyone while I try hard at Hearthstone. So yeah, please check it out.
Sweet. And you can follow me on Twitter at KCCO_gamer. Same thing with Twitch, KCCO_gamer. You can, if you want to add me on Battle.net, go ahead and add me at KCCOgamer number 1752. Hopefully I'll have enough room. We'll see. But yeah, drop by. You could get in contact with me that way. I do want to specifically go over Cora's information as well. She has been really busy and did an awesome job both with the prelims and championships. Super happy and glad to see her on there. You can follow her on Twitter at songbird_HS and her Twitch, which seems like she's been getting more followers there as well, at twitch.tv/Sage Cora. And just a little background for the people that don't know her, that's her brother's name, Sage. They shared a Twitch channel because he's actually an arena player, primarily arena, but Yeah, so they tend to share it, but I think it's mainly hers now. But yeah, go check her out there. Other than that, let's go ahead and wrap this up. So I just want to say keep calm and drive on, and until then, coin concede.